Where's Mr. Bill? He was just here.
It could be 30 minutes.
I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to this afternoon's agenda meeting. This afternoon we'll review the action items that will be formally addressed next Tuesday, March 7th already, at 6 p.m. right here at City Hall. And to review those action items will be our city manager, Mr. Bill Burrow.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Your first item for the evening will be Resolution R 2335, a resolution amending Resolution Number 10157, Exhibit A, pertaining to the revising of the 2023 budget by appropriating funds for certain prior year expenditures. And our Finance Director, Karen Scott, will address it.
Good afternoon. As you all are familiar, in Arkansas, municipal budgets expire at midnight on December 31st each year. At the beginning of each year, we must make appropriations in the current 2023 budget for capital items and one-time projects that were not received or completed before December 31st of the prior year. The board previously adopted Resolution R 10157 on February 21st, 2023 to approve a list of reappropriations. It has been determined that the list had an error on it. One item was omitted and one item was misidentified. The revised list will be attached to your board action request. Staff recommends that you reappropriate the 2022 appropriations that were not purchased or received by December 31st and are on that list. They include one fund appropriation for fire, and there was funds appropriation that were identified as street fund but were actually parking.
Very good. Any questions of
And I
Karen?
apologize for that error. That was my error.
No questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Resolution R 2336, a resolution approving the 2023 annual street paving program. And our Assistant City Engineer, Mike Hill, will present that item.
Good afternoon. This resolution brings you the proposed 2023 street paving list, which includes 18.27 miles of paving over 79 streets. It also includes an alternate list containing 3.38 miles on 17 streets. These streets were selected by combining several methods. We took recommendations from city citizens, Public Works, Solid Waste, and our street paving rating sheet developed from a street inventory completed by the company First Step. Consideration was also given to the conflicts with near-term utility relocations and repairs. It is estimated that the overlay program will cost approximately $4.4 million. Any questions?
Any questions of Mike? Yes.
Yeah.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Mike, will the street locations be included in our packet?
Yes,
Comes
all
out.
it'll be the street name and then the connecting streets, because usually it's not a whole street, it'll be a portion of that street.
Will it be broken down by district?
We have not broken it down by district.
Any further questions? Thank you.
Next, you have item R 2337, a resolution authorizing the construction of a gravel parking lot at Northwoods Trails by Coakley Company, Inc., with construction personnel and equipment provided pursuant to the term contract approved in Resolution Number 9826. And again, Mr. Hill.
Yes, this resolution is to use our contract with Coakley Company for personnel and equipment to build a gravel parking lot for Northwoods Trail along Parkland Drive. Northwoods has been voted the best trail system in Arkansas by ArkansasOutside.com readers 3 out of the last 4 years. This popularity is causing parking issues because they currently only have 40 existing parking places. This project will add approximately 100 parking spaces. These added spaces will allow them to host smaller special events specific to the trails for the Northwoods Trail system. It will also give users better access to the trails on high use days. It is a time and material contract not to exceed $85,000.
Any questions for Mike on this? Director Trustee?
Thank you, Mayor. Mike, where will this be? You said at Parkland Drive? Where?
You know,
as you're going down into the...
Yeah, going down in, there's a ridge up there. As
Yeah.
you take a curve, it'll be the ridge off to the right.
To the right.
And
Okay.
then they'll build a little trail so people won't have to walk down the road to get there. They'll be
Okay.
able to go through the woods to get to the trailhead.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
So how much space is required to do 100 in your excavating?
Was it 1.5 acres?
Pardon?
1.5 acres?
1.5 acres. Oh. Very nice.
It's going to be a nice parking lot.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, we have Resolution R 2338, a resolution approving the purchase of 624 residential solid waste containers from Waste Quip pursuant to Cooperative Purchasing Program Sourcewell in the amount of $42,053.48. And Deputy City Manager Lance Spicer will discuss the item.
Yes, thank you. This is a recommendation to purchase 624 residential waste containers. This is being done through a cooperative purchasing agreement. Sourcewell, the cooperative purchasing contract is 041521 TOT. So we are purchasing 624 96-gallon residential carts. The brand is Toter. The vendor will be Waste Quip. These are what residents and customers use as part of their residential solid waste collection. So these will maintain a good stock of those particular carts. The total price is $42,053.48. We did budget $100,000 in the 2023 solid waste budget, so we do have sufficient funds for this purchase.
Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. At our last meeting, we had several purchases for solid waste through this program in Sourcewell. Was this one not ready, or why was it not included?
Yeah, this one was one that we were actually working on in the process. As you previously mentioned, we purchased several pieces of equipment and machinery through Sourcewell, and this will be continuing that particular cooperative purchasing agreement with Sourcewell.
So it just wasn't ready at the same time as the others?
Correct.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Any additional questions? What is the life expectancy of one of these residential bins?
They're pretty rugged. Usually you're talking about 10 years. I think they are warranted for approximately. I think that warranty is actually a 10-year warranty as well. They're made out of that thermoplastic. Same thing you see on canoes and kayaks. So they're actually pretty sturdy units. Usually what we end up with are broken lids. That's probably one of the main things that you see. We do keep a good stock of those as well.
Very good.
Mayor, I can give you a testimonial on these carts. Years ago, we had a big rain, and I was coming to my office. It used to be at 626 Malvern on Jefferson, and there was a tote in the street. It had washed out of the creek onto the street. Each one of these totes have a serial number that is assigned to the address. The address was from Magnolia. It came through the tunnel,
Oh, my gosh.
intact.
Yeah. Very, very well built. Like I said, they're almost like same material as kayaks and canoes.
Most of those that are in service were put into service in 2006. So most of those are still
Yeah.
good to go 15 years later.
Yeah.
Director Garcia?
I've had mine for over 15 years. Do I get a credit back on my?
We appreciate your diligence with it. Yeah, usually when I talk about the lids are the lift bars are the things that we end up repairing most often.
Very nice. Okay, thank you.
Next item is Resolution R 2339, a resolution authorizing the filing and acceptance of the fiscal year 2023 Arkansas Department of Public Safety Equipment Grant and approving the use of grant funds to purchase certain tasers from Axon Enterprises, Inc. pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 1458-104, and Chief Harvington is here to discuss this item.
Thank you, sir. Yes, the Hot Springs Police Department is requesting the board consider a resolution to allow the application and acceptance of the fiscal year 2023 Arkansas Department of Public Safety Equipment Grant. As a matter of full disclosure and transparency, you guys should know that we actually did already apply for this grant many months ago. Should have been brought before you. It was not. It was just a mere oversight on our part. If approved by the board, we will use the amount of the funds, which is $71,275.85, to purchase 40 tasers and related equipment for outdated units that we currently have. The equipment will need to be purchased from Axon, which is a sole source provider. And you guys have a copy of the grant solicitation quotes and related documents in your packet. It is a 100% non-matching grant, and so the fiscal impact is 0 to the city, and I would entertain any questions that you might have.
Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. Does every officer that is, receives a taser still given training regarding the use of a taser and where to wear it and et cetera?
Yes, ma'am. They go through a 8-hour training course before they're certified to carry it, and then yearly they have to recertify going through a 4-hour training course.
Thank you. I'm
Yes,
glad
ma'am.
to see that you and the city manager have thawed out since your plunge on Saturday for Special Olympics.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Any additional questions for Chief? What is the life of a taser?
5 to 7 years, and the ones that we're replacing are actually a little older than that, probably.
What happens with those that are being replaced? Do they go back and get refurbished, or is
No, the ones that we currently have, they no longer make that model, and they don't allow any parts, or they don't have any serviceable parts for them anymore. So we're actually going into a newer model.
so how do you dispose of the ones you're replacing?
They're just literally be just thrown away. They're literally just a hunk of plastic without the cartridges and the batteries and stuff that go along with them, so no one can use them for anything.
Very good. Director or Trustee,
I think we put them in those carts we just approved.
where they won't be destroyed, non-destructive cart.
They'll probably be recycled into one.
Yeah. There's that little bit of yellow in there.
Next item is Resolution R-2340, a resolution awarding a term contract to Fire Protection of Arkansas, Inc. for fire extinguisher inspection and services. And our Public Works Director, Ron Seabright, will present.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
An RFP was sent out to 203 vendors. Only 2 responded. Fire Protection of Arkansas and Austin Fire Systems of Louisiana. Both these vendors were evaluated, and Arkansas was rated the highest. We're looking for a 1-year term contract with 4-year renewals.
Any questions on this? What do you think the reason is you sent out 203, you contact 203 companies and 2 of them respond?
It's probably location, where they're located. A lot of them are quite a ways away. The closest one to us is Jonesboro, so the other ones were probably out of state.
Okay. Director Webb, did you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. In our packets, will there be any showing of the bids that were offered and the acceptance too? Will that be included?
Yes,
Two.
they're in there. For
In
the
there?
2 that bid on it.
Okay.
You know, this was a real issue for us when Moman Bates closed on Malvern. They had the whole city's contract pretty much for decades.
Yeah. Very good.
Mayor,
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
I
Director
have
Trustee.
one other question. What's the approximate dollar amount of the contract? Did
It's
you say?
$15 per fire extinguisher for them to come in and inspect it, certify it, and re-tag it.
Okay. And that makes it good for another year, or another
Yes, sir.
2 years, just 1 year at a time?
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
welcome.
Next, you have consideration of Resolution R-2341, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Jack Mountain Water Improvement District Number 301 and accepting certain water improvements, and our city engineer, Gary Carnahan, will present that item.
Thank you. This is Jack Mountain Water District, covers about 400 acres. And at the time it was first built in 2002, 20 years ago, there were 92 water meters scattered over that 400-acre area. So it's a pretty rural, low-density area. But over the last 20 years, they've paid off the loans and the indebtedness they have for that water system. And so we had a prior agreement with them that when that happened and they asked the city that we would accept those water lines and assets into our water system and own and maintain those. So now they are asking us to do that. So that's what this matter is all about.
Director Garcia.
Are there still only 92?
Are they still what?
92? Have
Oh,
they increased?
You know, I didn't go back. I can, with our magical GIS system, I can tell you the answer to that, but I haven't done that yet.
Can
I'll
that be
check
in the
that out. We'll
packet?
see how many are,
And
how many are in that
also,
area.
are all of these in Garland County or some in Hot Spring County?
No, they're all in Garnet County.
Okay.
Good deal.
Any
Thank
additional
you.
questions? Thank you.
Mayor.
Yes. Oh, Director Webb?
Mayor, yeah, just before we get too far, I did have a question for Mr. Ron on Resolution R2340. It just hit me. Can we bring him back up?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just going to inquire. I know part of what you do with Public Works is to provide inspection, as does the fire department too. I just kind of want to know, why is it that we've got to provide a term of contract to have these fire extinguishers inspected by an outside source and not within our departments?
You have to be licensed and certified to do so. Mainly the fire department, what they're licensed in is for the AEDs, but they do not do the fire extinguishers.
Get Chief
You're
behind you.
Chief.
From a
wanna
legal
have-
standpoint, and this comes up a lot in Arkansas law, they really don't want government doing things that the private sector can do. And so one of the things that the legislator has done on that is that they have been very, very stingy in allowing governmental entities to perform services like doing maintenance on sprinkler systems or approving sprinkler systems, doing maintenance on fire extinguishers and things like that. There are some states that allow that, actually, but Arkansas is not one of them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Resolution R2342, a resolution authorizing out-of-state travel for certain board members as required by Resolution number 8496 as amended. And Harmony, you want to cover this one, or either one of us can?
I can do that. On March 26th through the 28th, the National League of Cities will hold their Congressional City Conference in Washington, D.C. District Director Phyllis Beard and Karen Garcia have expressed interest in traveling to that conference. Resolution 8496 does require the Board of Directors out-of-state travel to be approved by the board. So that is what is coming before you tonight, so that they can make plans to attend that conference.
Any questions on that? Thank you.
I have a question for the city manager. Did we make any adjustments in our budget this year, knowing that the 30th anniversary of the sister city relationship, that was here, and we'd probably want some of our members to travel there? Is it higher than usual?
We did have 10,000 in there for out-of-state travel. This is going to be about 5,500. As you know, I also have a reserve line that we budget in the board's budget. We can certainly transfer some of those funds over into travel if need be at that time. This for the two will be somewhere around 5,500. We've got 10,000 budgeted in that line item currently.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any further questions? Thank you.
Next, we have Resolution R2343, a resolution approving change order number 2 to the agreement with Tome Group, Inc. for the construction of Phase 3 of the water treatment plant as part of the Lake Ouachita Water Supply Project. This change order is in the amount of $1,587,604, and our project manager, Todd Pillar, will present the item.
Thank you and good afternoon. As probably everybody's aware, Tome Group is building our new water plant off of Amity Road, and for the construction of the new water plant is the third phase. First phase with our site and grading contractor. Second one is the clear well that passed the no leak test last week, so it's full of water. And this is for the water plant itself. This change order will minimize the risk to the city because the delivery times of the water equipment, process equipment, are a year. Sometimes between 50 and 60 weeks. So staff wanted to minimize the risk to the city, and this change order will also eliminate any price escalations from the contractor that we would be liable for. The change order for Tome Group will be, as Bill mentioned, $1,587,604. And when we add this change order to the Tome price, their contract price is still approximately $8 million less than our next lowest bidder. The change order will come out of the board-approved water bond fund.
Any questions? Director Garcia?
Just, do you think that we should move that to new business just because of the amount and how large our project is?
That's fine. Is that what the desire of the board is? We can do that.
Thank you.
Okay. There'll be a first item of new business. Any further questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That being your first item of new business, your next item under new business will be Resolution R 2344, a resolution declaring certain structure located at 105 Erie Street a nuisance and condemning same pursuant to Title 17 of the Hot Springs Code. And our Chief Building Official, Mike Scott, will present the item.
Thank you. Pursuant to the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code, the Planning Department proposes condemnation for the purpose of demolishing and clearing a vacant single-family residence structure at 105 Erie Street. That's Hot Springs, Arkansas. Timeline of events, we started a file on this property in 2006. Several other, through the years, we have sent notifications to the property owner to correct this problem, work on it, fix it. And so here we are, 17 years later. 17 years later now, given the structure has been inspected and deemed unsafe for habitation because of extensive damage to the roof, foundation, and other structural damage, the structure poses public health and safety risk to anyone who enters onto the property, as well as creating a nuisance to the neighboring properties. Due to the extent of the deterioration, inability, or unwillingness of the property owner to make the repairs to stabilize even after adjacent structure was removed, and having no reasonable alternative, the Planning Department staff recommends the structure should be raised and removed.
Are there any questions of Mike? Thank you.
Mayor, no questions on this particular item, but I did want the board to be aware. You may have reviewed your email yesterday that had the draft agenda. It had a property on School Street up for a consideration of condemnation. That's been removed because it's just not ready. So if you're like me, you may be looking through your emails later this week and wonder about the discrepancy. That's the reason why.
Very good. Thank you.
Next, we have your only ordinance for the evening, Ordinance 2307, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with Regions Equipment Finance Corporation to provide short-term financing under Amendment 78 to the Arkansas Constitution for certain 2023 capital acquisitions, declaring an emergency and for other purposes. And again, our Finance Director, Karen Scott, will discuss the item.
Yes, the city seeks to obtain financing for capital items approved in the 2023 budget as follows. $140,000 for computer servers, $37,000 for playground equipment, $699,000 for vehicles, $475,000 for heavy equipment, $103,000 for special equipment, and $830,000 for a fire pumper truck. During the budget process, these items were identified as being financed by borrowing funds rather than using current operating funds. A request for financing proposal was issued in January, and responses were received from 5 responsive bidders. The bids were evaluated, and Regions Equipment Finance Corporation has provided the most favorable bid at 22 basis points above the 5-year Treasury at the time of the loan. The 5-year Treasury was 4.09% on February 17th, 2023, so the rate would be 4.31%. For purposes of comparison, the rates on the 2021 and 2022 financing were 1.13% and 1.824% respectively. The higher rate obviously reflects the changes in the market. It would be in the city's best interest to declare this as an emergency so that funding could take place immediately and minimize market volatility. The budget for the payment of this financing was based on 6%, so there is a little bit of a savings in the budget. Staff recommends approval of the selection of Regions Equipment Finance Corporation to provide financing for approved 2023 capital items in an amount not to exceed $2.284 million. The term of the loan would be 5 years. This recommendation is pursuant to the State of Arkansas Amendment 78, authorizing cities to obtain short-term financing.
Any questions of Karen? Director Garcia?
You said 2.48?
2,284,000.
84. Oh,
Yes.
transposed. In our packet, can you provide how much debt we expired at the end of '22?
Yes.
Thank you.
I actually can show you how much is left in each one of the
That would be great.
the course of all
Thank you
amendments
very
having a
much.
funding. Mhm.
That's what I'd like to see, the current balances left that we've financed over the last 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely.
Very good.
I already have that prepared.
And we budgeted that at 6%, is that right?
Yes, I used 6% when I predicted or forecasted the budget for the annual debt service for this.
Thank you for using that.
Any further questions of Karen? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, that concludes your items.
It'll be a relatively short day next Tuesday, as we only will have 3 action items. We moved one from consent agenda to new business, so that'll be the first of 3. So there are no further business. The agenda meeting is adjourned. We do have a work session following.